Kitt Shapiro is a longtime Westporter, very eclectic background. You own the West Women's Boutique right there on the Post Road. And you've written a book about your mother.
I have.
Eartha Kitt, legendary Eartha Kitt. And you also have produced shows, Eartha Kitt shows, and you're involved very much in honoring her legacy with cancer and health, women's health issues.
Yes.
So, Kitt Shapiro, welcome.
Thank you.
To 06880, the podcast.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Great. So your mother was a longtime resident of the area.
Yes, she lived in Weston for many years, up until her death in 2008.
But you did not grow up here.
No, I didn't. I grew up in Los Angeles and in London, actually, because my mother traveled a lot, and I traveled with her. I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. I have lived in Westport for 23 years. Raised my kids here. They all went through the Westport school system, all graduated Staples. And it's just an incredible place to live. But the irony is my mother performed at the Westport Playhouse in 1957.
Wow.
So, and then about a year before she died, she did another show at the Playhouse. So it came full circle.
So is that what got her here?
No, what got her here was me.
Okay.
I moved here because my husband lived here. And so then she moved here because I lived here.
Okay.
I'm an only child, so she wanted to always be close to me.
So you were an LA kid.
Yes.
What was it like moving back east?
It was very strange because as much as I had traveled my entire life with my mother, and we'd spent a lot of time in London, so, another urban center, when we moved back east to New York, my mother was doing the show Timbuktu on Broadway. So that was probably 1978, I want to say, 78, 79, something like that. And so I moved with her, and it was really different, obviously. I mean, Los Angeles is spread out and warm, and New York is not. But I became a real New Yorker, and then I ended up going to college and staying and going in New York. And I never went back. I never went back to live on the West Coast.
But why Westport?
Because my husband and I are a blended family, and he lived here with his 2 kids when we married 22 years ago. And I moved up here. I lived in Scarsdale with my family. And my ex-husband also lived in Scarsdale. So when I met my current husband, I said to my former husband, would you move to Westport? Because he lives in Westport and he's not going to move, and et cetera, et cetera. So my former husband also moved up here to Westport. So we all moved. The whole family moved. And then we got married, and we blended our families, and we just raised them all here.
And how has Westport been for you?
Westport's really a unique place. I mean, I don't have to tell you that. You've been here all your life. And it's just such an eclectic, interesting. It is a suburb of New York City in many ways, but it sort of stands alone with the amount of artistic people that have come through here, been raised here, move here. And I can't even speak to unless you live here, you really don't understand how really unique it is. Obviously, it's a beach community, but it's got so much more than that. We've got museums, and we've got restaurants, we've got art galleries, we've got the Levitt Pavilion, where we have incredible performances, the Westport Playhouse, which has been around for so long, and so many celebrities that have decided that Westport was a place for them to be, and artists and writers, that it really says a lot about the community that is here.
It's interesting because other people say it and nobody can really articulate it, but it's just sort of if you know, you know.
Yes, you really do have to, and I don't even think visit. You have to stay here for a while, on some level live here, if short-term, long-term, to really understand the eclectic, artistic value that this town offers.
There are people who say, yeah, it used to be an artist's colony, and it no longer is.
Right. Well, I grew up in Los Angeles, and Malibu used to be an artist colony too. So, I mean, everything evolves, right? It still attracts a lot of artists. Yes, it's different, but that's what evolution in life is. You can't expect anything to stay the same, or it becomes a ghost town, and nobody wants to be there anymore.
Sure. So let's talk about West, your
Yes.
boutique.
Yes.
What's the story behind it?
So West was started about 8 years ago by a woman, another Westport resident, Laura Magid, and I was a customer, and I loved shopping there. I am a huge proponent of shopping local and being able to find things that you don't necessarily see in the department stores. Don't get me wrong, I love Amazon and online shopping as much as the next person, but I really do feel that the boutiques and the small shops that are part of the community are really the backbone. Many of the people who own and run them live in the community. They understand and they know people, and there's a sensitivity that's unlike shopping online, obviously. So Laura was going to move to California, ironically, and she thought she was gonna close the store, she wasn't quite sure, and I was panicking. I said, "You can't close the store. You can't. There's too many stores that had closed," and this was 2018, and I just felt, "I have to buy the store." So I went to my husband, I said, "I need to buy the store," which, of course, he thought was the stupidest thing he'd ever heard. It was like, "Why would you buy a retail store? That's ridiculous. You've never mentioned wanting to buy a retail store." I'm like, "I know. I don't know why I need to buy the store, but I do." And so my husband went to play golf on a weekend down in the South, in South Carolina, and he comes back on Sunday, and I'm like, "Guess what I did this weekend?" He goes, "You bought the store." And I'm like, "Yes, I did." So I took over the store, which was a really great fit for me. I came from the fashion world years ago where I worked on the other side of I was a model, and then I worked in wholesale, in the other side of the retail community. And it just fit. It was a funny thing. I never thought about owning a retail store, but I had lived in this town and I just felt we needed to keep these boutiques open, and it just seemed to be right for me. And I will tell you, Dan, it's like I was born to do this. And I'm not saying I'm great at it, because I'm not the best, I'm figuring it out as I go along in so many ways, but it just feels right to me. And when COVID hit, and we shut down
Just a couple of years
right.
after you bought the store.
Yes, yes. We Connecticut reopened retail very early on, earlier than New York and New Jersey did. And we saw this incredible connection with human beings who needed the human connection, right? A lot of people came in the store and said, "I just need to talk to someone I'm not related to." And the sense of community, even though we were all masked and we could barely breathe and we had headaches, but people needed to just feel like they were seen and they were heard and that they could connect with other human beings. And so it really reinforced the reason why I knew that this was for me, that owning this store, having a store in a small community that I was a part of, was really, really important for me and for the community as well.
But you mentioned small retails. You mentioned Amazon.
Yes.
And the retail environment, from everything I know, is really, really difficult.
It is.
Particularly for mom and pop shop. Pop is not involved in your shop, but for mom shops,
Yes.
it's a tough retail environment, right?
It's definitely tough. This is not for the faint of heart. But I really do feel that the community, and I'm not just talking about Westport, many communities, many neighborhoods really do want to support their local businesses. And they really want to feel that they're understood and that they're heard and that they're seen, and that when they walk in, somebody makes them smile. A lot of people, life is really difficult. We've all got ups and downs. So to be able to walk into a place where somebody says, "Hey, how's your family? How's how are your kids? Is everything okay?" Even if we don't know you, you somehow have this different connection, right? There's this feeling because you can see and feel the aura of somebody. So I think that just says a lot. And even if they don't leave with a purchase, hopefully they leave with a smile. That, I think, is the difference with small businesses. So for me, and I'm lucky that I can stick with the tough times in retail. I get tremendous support from the community, from other women-owned businesses. And women get a bad rap about supporting each other. I have found anything but that to be the case with all the other local women-owned businesses, of which there are a lot in this town, have been incredibly supportive of our space as well.
Can you give me some examples of how you support each other?
We do events together. We refer each other. If there's something that somebody's looking for and I don't have it in my store, we will always say to someone, maybe you should try Fred. Maybe you should try Penfield Collective. Maybe you should try even some of the big box stores, right? I mean, they're all manned and people who work in all the bigger stores on Main Street. Most of them live in the area, in the surrounding area. So you just want to be there, and help each other. There's room for everybody. I truly believe that, and I just think it's about caring enough to really help the person, the customer, and hence you help yourselves because you're offering somebody else something that you don't have.
It's really interesting. There's so many new restaurants in that area where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Don Memo and
Casame,
and Casame, Capuli, and
yes,
Il Pastificio, and so many others, Giratai. And people would say, they're sort of cannibalizing each other, but in fact, they're really drawing people to the area. And is that true of retail as well?
I think so. I mean, New York City, the stores are cannibalizing each other. Restaurants are cannibalizing each other. You see restaurants, and yes, I'm not saying it's easy on any way, but you see, restaurants and stores next to each other in big cities that do incredibly well. They both do well. You hopefully offer something different than the next guy. We like to, West. I don't want to see myself coming and going. I want people to be able to dress a little bit different, feel good about themselves. It's not about the amount of money you spend. It's just about feeling good. And when you look in the mirror, I want that person who smiles to be you, the one who's staring back at you. That to me is important. And I don't want to be like the next guy. I want to look a little bit different. I've always had a unique style. So I do think that there's room for everybody. There's only a certain amount of dollars to go around. I totally get that. But I think that is when communities stick together, it just makes us all stronger.
Are there particular challenges you face or women entrepreneurs face by being women?
Well, I think that women, we are usually the caregivers of our families. And I think that we are often torn between taking care of our children, our spouses, is in my case, as our parents get older and if they're not well, and then running a business. I don't think that we are raised. I think maybe the younger generations are raised to learn how to run businesses. I wasn't, although I was raised by an incredible, independent, strong woman. She wasn't a business person, so I didn't learn how to run a business. So that's kind of operating by the seat of my pants here. That being said, I think women are uniquely capable of multitasking and figuring it out and reinventing themselves. Because I think as women, we tend to reinvent ourselves more than men need to as our lives evolve. So, but I think, women often, I don't think many of us have a tough time speaking up, standing up for ourselves. So I think that there's typical challenges that we hear in society that women face. But I think women are incredibly resilient. After all, we give birth. That's a really hard thing to do. And if you can bounce back from 1, 2, 3, or 4 pregnancies and give birth things, you can do anything.
Really important question. How come West is capitalized, all 4 letters?
Well, because you got to stand out, right? Stand out in the crowd. It's not easy on the Post Road, right? We're right there next to Specs, which I love, by the way. My glasses are from Specs. We're not, you drive past, everybody goes by their own business. You don't really focus on, what every little store is. We have people coming in every day who've lived here for many years and say, "Oh, I've been here. I've never seen this store before." So you've got to do whatever you can to say, "I'm here."
And you did mention events.
Yes.
What sort of events do you have?
So we like to do events. We've collaborated with other local businesses, stores, bakeries, jewelers. We also do the fashion show here at the library, which we absolutely love every year.
Fashionably Westport.
Yes, Fashionably Westport. I am a part of the American Cancer Society's Women Leading the Way to Wellness, which we do an event every year in Stamford it has been at the Marriott. I think we're moving to the Hyatt for women to pay attention, focus a little bit more on themselves and their health, physically, emotionally, mentally, take care of ourselves. We're very much focused on putting other people first, our children, our spouses, our parents, our friends, our businesses. And we tend to neglect, the things that we need to focus on. My mother died from colon cancer. She never had a colonoscopy. And she just sort of chalked it up to, yeah, I don't feel so great. And then when she did go to the doctor, she didn't bring it up because she just assumed, I'm healthy. I feel, I, for the most part, feel fine. Maybe I have a little disturbance in my stomach, but it wasn't enough for her to make a big deal about. And so for me, the importance of testing and diagnoses and even a massage or getting your hair done, really taking care of ourselves, paying attention to that little voice inside. That's what we do with the Women Leading the Way to Wellness event. So that we do an event for Galentine's Day during Valentine's season at the store. We try to do a lot of events at the store. We also try to participate in other events that around town, from Pink Aid to, Homes with Hope and all the other incredible, charitable things that go on in the area in Fairfield County.
And that's one of the advantages of owning your own business. You don't have to say, I got to check with corporate.
Exactly. I can pivot on a dime. That's as we learned in COVID. I can make a decision, on my own. I don't have to ask anybody's permission.
So let's talk about your mom.
Yes.
And the book that you wrote.
Yes.
How did that come about?
So my book is titled Eartha and Kitt, A Daughter's Love Story in Black and White. And as I mentioned, I'm an only child to my mother. And yes, I am her biological child, as many people have questioned sort of why the book came about.
Really?
Yes. So
questioned it to your face?
Oh, yes. To my face through social media.
Okay.
So behind the
keyboard warriors.
Yes. So, I grew up with a mother who was a trailblazer. She really felt that you stand up for the people who can't speak for themselves. You speak your mind, you follow your heart, and you use the voice that you have, as if you're lucky enough to be a celebrity, for positivity. And so when I was lucky enough to travel with my mother throughout the world, because she felt that travel was the greatest gift you could give a young person, to really learn. You couldn't learn what you can see in face to face in a book. But my mother didn't just travel as a celebrity, right? When we would go to different countries, she wanted me to really understand that my life in Beverly Hills, California, similar to Westport, Connecticut, is not really the reality of how most people live. And she wanted me to see how the world functions, why people believe what they believe, why their rituals are what they are. So she would befriend hotel staff, taxi drivers, people on the street. She would ask them, take me to where you shop, take me to your homes. I want to learn. We would go to places of worship, not because she was a religious fanatic, but she wanted to understand why people believed, what their traditions were, where they were, the foundations were. And houses of worship are often, right, the center of many, many towns, certainly around the world. And so you really learn a lot. You learn a lot about history. You learn a lot about the people. My mother would read all the different religious books because she wanted to understand why people felt the way that they felt. So I saw from this incredible woman that you learn about each other to understand and to have respect, not because you want to become that, because you want to understand that that person has their right to believe and to live the way that they do, just like you have the right to believe the way that you live and want to live. And so I had this role model that was so beautiful. And I learned at an early age that I was a mixed race woman, And that was an incredible gift. How beautiful is that, to have different races blend together and become something incredibly unique. So when my mother passed, and her whole life, she told me, we talked about this was always very open. I look very different. I'm blonde haired. I'm light skinned. My mother's much darker. She would call herself cafe au lait. Her life is very different. She was treated differently as a woman of color. I grew up with a mother who was already famous when I was born in a very privileged town and looking very different. So my treatment from the world, how people perceived me was not the same as how my mother experienced life, but yet I learned from her. So after she passed, and I had worked for her for many years in her production company, and I had people on social media make comments to me, which were really sort of surprising. And there was one comment in particular that was a person, I don't know if they were a man or a woman, who said to me, "You are clearly adopted. Your mother obviously lied to you. And there is no way that a woman a Black woman could have had a child that looks like you." And I had normally been not willing to comment back to people because it was ignorance and I just didn't think it deserved my energy. But this, for whatever reason, this one particular comment stuck with me and I couldn't let it go. And I just felt, first of all, genetics, I don't have any control over, but the gene pool and how, the combination have made me who I am. I actually do look like my mother, if people would look past the light skin and the hair. And it was really sad to think that because I don't look like somebody expects me to look, that you are going to deny my existence and who I am. So I actually responded to this particular person publicly. And my first response was, on what planet do you think a Black woman could have adopted a white baby in 1961? I mean, you probably couldn't even do it today, frankly. And second of all, it's so sad that this is where you want to put your energy. So the book sort of evolved from my feeling that, all right, I guess I have no choice but to sort of step into this space and to become someone who opens this conversation up. Because my mother was not afraid of conversations and not afraid of saying things that weren't popular. So as much as I reluctantly wanted to sort of stay quiet, I said, I guess I've got the torch has been passed to me, and it's now my turn to make people think.
And you've done it spectacularly well.
Thank
I mean, when you were telling that story, my reaction was, why do people care?
Right.
What makes them interested or caring about something like that? Did that book lead to those conversations that you thought it might?
Yes. Bottom line is yes. In my book, I talk about the teaching, the way my mother taught. My mother felt that everyone is a teacher, even if only for a moment. And as a parent, you clearly are, have an incredible effect and impact on the little ones around you. And every moment my mother lived was a teaching moment to her, for me or for any other young person that was in front of her. So I like to share these stories with people, and that's what the book really is, because who my mother was on the screen or in music or on television, that will never go away. That's in perpetuity. But who she was as a human being, as a person, as a parent, is really for me to share with other people. And like I said, my mother loved the art of conversation. She wanted to really talk about important things, meaningful things, not fluff like I sometimes want to do, fashion, which I mean, not that fashion is fluff, but it wasn't what my mother really felt. She was truly of the earth. And the foundation that the earth gives you was how she wanted to grow, learn how to grow. She wanted to learn from nature. She wanted to learn from other people. She wanted to learn from experience. She would say that she's taken all the manure that was thrown on her and used it as fertilizer. That's really how she lived. So the book to me was really about having other people have conversations, letting them talk to each other, share to the next generation, share with each other. Maybe it's controversial, whatever they're talking about, that my book that story might have sparked in that situation. Maybe it's something that brings them together. Maybe it's something that makes them laugh. Maybe it's heartwarming. That is what I think as human beings, we are uniquely capable of doing, of touching each other on every single level emotionally. And so that to me was what was important about the book. And I feel, from what people have said to me, that it has in fact been successful in that respect.
Well, there's also some great anecdotes in that about the independence that you had growing up.
Yes.
That really your mother gave you tremendous leeway.
She really did. And the irony was, I mean, because I grew up obviously as a child of a celebrity, but I was not. She was very much the disciplinarian, and she believed in respect and proper manners and good behavior. And I really was able, though, to have this long leash of sort of learning my own way, because she understood that you don't really learn as well from somebody telling you how to do something as much as you do from experiencing it. And I remember one instance where there was this chain link piece of rope or something. It was chain, so it wasn't rope, but in our backyard. And I decided to jump over it like it was a game. I don't know why. And I was in flip-flops. And my mother watched me, and she's in her mind saying, okay, wearing flip-flops with that chain link is probably not going to be a great result. Now, I, as hindsight, would have preferred it if she had warned me about doing that. Don't do that in flip-flops. Because obviously the flip-flops got caught, and I ended up, falling on the cement and being hurt. And I wasn't happy about it. But I tell you, I never jumped over a chain link fence again with flip-flops on. So, it was just, these are the anecdotes in the book, and they're funny, but they're so deep and impactful. And I think they speak louder than just the simple words that are on the piece of paper.
Last couple of questions, going back to you and Westport.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of your favorite shops?
My favorite shops.
Where do you shop?
All right. Yeah. Well, I love Bungalow, because I just love the things, accessories and as my mother would say, tchotchkes. My husband would say the same thing. I love Savvy and Grace. She's got a very eclectic grouping there. I could just walk around there. I love a good bookshop. I know that we don't have the Remarkable Bookshop anymore, and Barnes & Noble. For me, I love Barnes & Noble. I like going in there and just walking around. There's just a sense of serenity when you surround yourself with books. I'm an avid reader. I love the library. This is the most incredible facility and gift that this town has. I also love, I love Mitchell's. I love Fred. I also love the bigger stores. Who doesn't love Lululemon? As overpriced as people would say the same about my store. But I like going in all the stores. I like the new stores we've got Roan, we've got Vuori, we've got, a lot of really Clarendon Art Gallery. I can't afford to buy anything in there, but I certainly love being there. Yeah. So, there are just so many great, I just think it's a great town with everybody's got something different to offer.
And most of them, except for Mitchell's, is within walking distance of you.
Yes. People don't realize how walkable this town is. You drive, we all drive, and we think, oh, how do I get over there? You don't realize if I park my car here, 5 minutes, I can walk over to, the end of the road. In New York City, you'd walk 50 blocks without thinking about it. Yeah. Park the car, walk around, explore, people, explore.
Restaurants. What's your go-to?
Okay, my go-to is Basso, right here across from the library. Love them. Love Renato. He's been around for a long time. I know he was in Norwalk and he moved here. I love I love all the new ones. I love the Welk, which when it came along, it's not so new anymore, but that's always good. Spotted Horse. I could eat there all the time. I practically do at the store. There are just so many. Everything's good in this town. My husband loves Giratai. They're the nicest people. Casame, Capulli, the sweetest, nicest couple, and the food is delicious. I just have to name all of them if I could. If I had a list in front of me, I'd just name them all.
Great one. Last question, back to your store.
Mm-hmm.
If I walked in looking for something,
Well, we don't carry men's, so that would be a little tricky.
Right. But what are a couple of your favorite items?
Well, I wear, and I'm wearing them today, I wear R13 jeans. We do incredible business with R13. They're Japanese denim. It's a really, really cool jean company. Yes, they're pricey, but for me, I wear jeans every day. So if I amortize the cost of my jeans over time, they really don't cost that much. We really love T-shirts that are not the usual T-shirts, right? There's a company from California called Made Worn, and they are made to look worn. A lot of them are rock and roll T-shirts, and I like to wear, ripped jeans with a fitted blazer. But I would say the R13 brand, Mousy Jeans and R13 Jeans would be our two strongest brands.
Fantastic. Kitt Shapiro, owner of West, all capital letters, author of a book on your mom, Eartha Kitt,
Yep.
and longtime Westport resident, and sounds like a Westport supporter. Thank you for being on
Indeed.
06880, the podcast.
I thank you. Big admirer of yours, so I appreciate all that you do for this town.
Thanks.